Football Focus put out a list of players that have something to prove this season. Can you guess which two are those Cleveland Browns?
Austin Corbett? No, Austin Corbett's not a Brown anymore. Tell me who.
All right, let me start with quarterback, Baker Mayfield. He's got a lot to prove this year. And Odell Beckham Jr., as the list goes on and on. Baker is in a prove-it year. There may be no player under more intense focus than Baker Mayfield heading into year 3. This offseason for the Browns has been about fixing the pieces around Mayfield, but he needs to prove that he is the player we saw in year 1, and rather than what we've seen as part of the problem. The flaws in his game were concerningly magnified, leaving him with a lot of work to do to reverse the course. As far as Sam Monson of Pro Football Focus, he says it's Odell Beckham. The Browns have resolved many of the issues in the offseason, allowing the focus to rest on Mayfield. But of the two caveats to that, it's retaining trust in Beckham Jr. to become a devastating receiver that he was earlier in his career in the first 3 years. Year 1 of the Baker Mayfield to Odell Beckham Jr. connection was a little short of disastrous, but Beckham was playing through sports hernia and wasn't healthy all season, and Beckham just needs to show that Cleveland's faith in him has not been misplaced. So it's those two guys. I'm wondering about the defense. Everybody points out all the great stuff on offense. Can you really get away with this linebacking core and the 4 defensive backfield guys?
I've been saying all offseason that I'm not worried about the linebackers because I don't know there's any team that's perfect 1 through 22 with its starters. And if I'm going to be short somewhere and young somewhere and cheap somewhere, I think I'd rather it be at linebacker than almost anywhere else. So I'd rather be wondering about young guys there than wondering about, a bunch of young guys at defensive end or offensive tackle or cornerback or receiver or, the important positions.
Yeah.
So.
But it seems to me as you get into next year where the big money has to go out, this is from a salary cap standpoint and everything else, this seems to be an easier year to deal with. If they don't win or don't come close, next year's going to be tough to replicate.
Yeah, but to your point about that, Les, when you were looking at all these positions where you're hopefully going to have good players you have to pay, then you got to save money somewhere. And so you got to save money to a place like linebacker where you're going to draft guys in the middle rounds and hope a couple of them pop. So I think it's a very reasonable strategy. And it's one of those things, again, we saw what Andrew Berry did this offseason. If these young linebackers, if Sione Takitaki and Wilson and Phillips and these other guys don't work out, then they'll just get some random veteran for $2 million to play linebacker in 21. So, I mean, again, it's one of these things. I get it, but I don't know what people expect.
Well, they expect they expect a Pro Bowl player at every position.
Yeah, I mean, this is a franchise for 20 years they talked about who's the quarterback, and now we've moved on to who's the starting will linebacker? I don't know. It's like, dude, I don't know. There's not Luke Kuechly's not coming out of retirement to play for the Browns.
No,